is you've got these students who are so used to Netflix and Amazon serving up, this is what you need to know next, or because you did this, now you should be interested in this. Communications at higher ed should be absolutely no different. We should be able to anticipate because they expect us to anticipate what they are going to need and what they're going to want.
Welcome to Mission of Missions. I'm your host, Jeremy Tiers. This is the show designed to help you grow, both professionally and personally, in the fast-paced world of higher education. Every other Tuesday, I sit down with senior leaders, new professionals, and difference makers from across higher ed and beyond, where we'll share tips and strategies related to challenging topics like student recruitment, leadership, customer service, enrollment marketing, and time management. So if you're looking for practical advice and conversations that actually move the needle, this show's for you. Grab your notepad or fire up your notes app, and let's get into it. Hey everybody, it's Jeremy Tiers, and this is episode 92 of the Mission Admissions podcast. Personalization continues to be a very hot topic in the higher ed admissions and marketing world, and the schools that are doubling down on it are seeing campus visit numbers increase, their engagement is climbing, and their enrollment is growing in many cases, including at St. Catherine University up in St. Paul, Minnesota, where my guest today, Lauran Hundshamer, is the Vice President of Enrollment and Marketing. So welcome to the show, Lauran.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Lauran, I would love to start by just better understanding, what was happening when you got to St. Kate's? You've been there a couple of years now that made you realize, okay, we need to lean way harder into personalization with marketing, all the admissions messaging, and just events and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. So I joined St. Kate's in the fall of 2022, and I was really there just kind of on an interim basis, working in the admissions department. And then later, a couple of months later, came marketing. But I think we were coming out of, like every other university was, COVID, which was really, really hard on most universities. The other piece too was the previous vice president and senior vice president to my era being there really, really focused hard on yield instead of kind of filling that top of funnel. And so we started to see our numbers decline even more so. And then coming out of COVID, that added another layer of issues. So what we decided to do was go back to the basics. We brought in a couple of really great vendors that helped us to rethink our financial aid, rethink our email communications, rethink our advertisements, our enrollment, everything throughout the entire funnel, from inquiry, prospective students, all the way through deposit. So we've really restructured that entire traditional kind of student funnel to make sure that everybody's getting the personalization, the email, the communication, whatever they're expecting, that they're getting what they need when they need it. So it's really no longer on our time, it's on their timeline of when they're expecting to be communicated with and how they're expecting to be communicated with.
For any senior leader listening to this, how do they know, for example, what they should be looking at each year to realize, okay, I think we're doing personalization well, but maybe we're not doing it as well as we think we are?
Well, I'll tell you what, I am a big believer just simply because I work in marketing, and I've worked in marketing my entire career, in taking a look at conversions throughout the funnel. And so when you're looking at, how many prospective students are you getting and then how they're converting, what are those percentages and what small details can we change to increase each one of those percentages throughout that funnel? It sounds super traditional. But the other piece of the puzzle too is I never come in to a new role thinking that I'm going to change a lot of things. Sometimes things are just working. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it, kind of a thing. So, and each university and their goals and their students, their audience are completely different. So you have to understand what is their biggest motivator and how you're going to get them from point A to point B to really push them through that funnel. So pieces of that I really didn't touch at all. I think what was really the most important thing was coming in and seeing where we can make those advances, where we haven't made those advances, and where we can improve upon with just a couple of different tweaks. I'm kind of a big fan of James Clear and his Atomic Habits. And so I love being able to look at making these small improvements that are going to have big impacts. So to me, personalization is really a small improvement. I mean, we have all of our communications. We know what we need to send out, when we need to send it, but at the same time, um, being able to add things in like what is their major, being able to capture all the information from where they're at on our website and create that dynamic messaging is really important. And I think part of that is you've got these students who are so used to Netflix and Amazon serving up, this is what you need to know next, or because you did this, now you should be interested in this. Communications at higher ed should be absolutely no different. We should be able to anticipate because they expect us to anticipate what they are going to need and what they're going to want. So personalization to me is just the next step, and it's actually quite small, in my opinion, to really start to increase those conversions.
Why do you think
Yeah.
so many colleges and universities then struggle with this? Well, we need to change this and then execute this personalization differently.
Oh, this is a really hard one to answer. And really because what I'm about to say is going to be very blunt and almost kind of negative. But higher education is behind the eight ball when it comes to marketing and when it comes to being on top of what's up and coming and what's already passed. And I will say a lot of times I like to send my marketing team to conferences that are not higher ed conferences because they're still, I mean, higher ed is still catching up. I've worked in the for profit world, I've worked in the ed tech world, and I just think that they don't know what they don't know. People in higher ed stay in higher ed, right? They don't usually branch out to a for-profit world or a B2B world or a direct to consumer really type world. And so they're used to that 3-year churn. So to bring in new ideas and to listen to vendors who are telling you, hey, listen, we're A/B testing this over here. We think you should be A/B testing this over here for you. Let's work on it. Let's figure out how you're going to get the dollars to supplement, a new campaign of some kind. For instance, I love CTV. I love CTV. It is such a wonderful addition to our entire campaign. But I think the most important part is you need to be able to have this kind of like blockchain attribution instead of the last touch attribution. And if you don't have a marketing team that understands those pieces, you won't be able to see that entire funnel of where are my students coming from? Where are my customers? Let's be honest, these are our customers, right? So where are my customers coming from? Who is this audience I'm trying to attract? And what ads are they seeing in between? So it's not just they received this email and all of a sudden they deposited, or they saw a post on social media and they deposited. You have to have a full picture of where they're seeing you and how they're interacting with you. And then when you get that full picture, that makes personalization so much easier.
One of the things I was excited to talk with you about, Lauren, your campus visit numbers sounds like they are soaring, like 40% literally year over year. And so I am curious because I'm sure the answer isn't, well, Jeremy, we just changed one thing and that made all the difference. What were some of those elements, though, of personalization that you feel like kind of have made the biggest impact in those increases that you're seeing?
Yeah, I think we do all of our visits are set up by one person, so it's very personalized. We have looked at creating a sign up and go on our website, but I think we're a small campus, and one of the things that we do really really well is setting our students up with professors that they want to talk with, or maybe they want to go to a class that day. So it's not just you're going to come and you're going to take a tour and you're going to get a nice little grab bag and you're going to talk to a counselor about your classes or about the major that you want. It is really truly all encompassing. You can come to campus and have lunch. You can spend the day with a student ambassador. You can meet with a professor. You can go into multiple buildings that you're interested in. You can spend an entire day on St. Kate's campus. And so I think we do a really good job of personalizing every single experience of every student that chooses to come to campus. Um, I think our visits are up just in the sense, our applications are up as everybody's applications are up. And I think if you look at the data, because, we're obviously really big at looking at the data. If you look at the data, our visits, our event visits are not necessarily growing, I would say, but they're remaining steady. It's our individual visits that are up, which is pretty incredible. And we also know that's where our highest conversion is on students who personally come to St. Kate's.
Two things I would love to dig into there. First, you mentioned it's one person that oversees your events and visits and, is really involved in things. Help me understand, if I'm a prospective student in high school, somewhere in St. Paul, Twin Cities, and I'm interested, am I getting, for example, outreach specifically from that person? And then what does that look like? Like, because I think it's those little things, for example, you've talked about little things already that make such a big difference versus my daughter says it to me all the time. Dad, I know this is stuff they're saying to everybody, right? It doesn't feel like it's just for me. So, like, whatever you're comfortable sharing, talk a little bit more about what you think that one person, right, in your office is doing well, I'll say at the top end of the funnel of visits to get people excited enough to say, yeah, I want to go spend the day, right, at St. Kate's campus.
It's not just one person who does all this. It's a whole team of people. It's one person who contacts the student once they filled out the request to come visit and sets all that information up. And so they're in touch with this one person until, to be able to set up this entire visit. She's our campus visit coordinator, and she's amazing. However, we are a small team of admissions folks here at St. Kate's for our College for Women. And so what we try to do is we try to maintain one contact with that prospective student through the entire, even through 10-day. We are still the main contact for that student, and it's one admission counselor. We do try to keep that one student attached to that one admission counselor, and that one like glue. And that one admission counselor really does handhold that student throughout the entire process from perspective through 10-day. So I think that's a big reason why students want to come and visit, is because there's that personal relationship. And so when you're developing these personal relationships with the students, the counselor really does get to know them. And I could go to any one of our counselors and say, hey, tell me about Susie Johnson. What's going on? They don't even have to look them up in the system. They'll be able to say, oh, you know what? This is what's happening. She's from Iowa. Her mom wants to come and visit, and they want to look at biology. They want to look at the lab space to major in bio. Perfect. So I think because of that personalized nature, the other piece I'm going to throw out there too is we're starting to implement a lot more technology, a lot more dynamic technology on our website to send out more hyper personalized emails and communication. And we're also going to be launching an after hours chatbot and like a call-in counselor, right? But it's all AI generated. And I think a lot of universities are afraid of doing something like that. I think a lot of counselors are afraid of doing something like that because they think that AI or this is somehow going to replace them. And I would argue that not only is this not going to replace any of our counselors, it's going to aid in the smaller questions that these students might have that they might feel embarrassed to talk to an actual counselor about, right? That they don't know. But I think, all of this information is then captured in our Slate CRM. And then we'll be able to use that information to be able to reach out to those students and even create deeper relationships, saying, hey, I saw you had some questions about financial aid. Let's talk this through. I want to make sure that you understand your package, or whatever else that happens to be, so that the counselors can actually save time.
I love that. And then the other thing I wanted to dig into a little bit, Lauren, is help me understand. I get that it's easier to work with campus partners on campus, aka faculty, financial aid,
Mhm.
orientation, new student, services, whatever it might be, when you're a smaller campus. But I'm also well aware that those handoffs can be tricky in a whole bunch of places. And so was the collaboration already, I'll say, there and kind of working well when you got to St. Kate's, or is that something too that you said, hey, part of us leaning harder into personalization is we have to
Mhm,
make sure that we can pull all this stuff off, for example,
mhm.
during a campus visit like you talked about?
Oh, absolutely. I think, I am a big believer in peer-to-peer testimonials too. And so that's one space that we had to really, um, I don't want to say improve, but increase, I think, our relationships with our current students. So we can push out, what does it look like to be in the day in the life of a nursing student or things of that nature. Um, I think our ambassadors are trained really, really well. And that is definitely because of our director of admissions and our events specialist, because they're the ones who trained our student ambassadors. So that's one piece. I think, yes, we've got the relationships with the faculty, um, but like anything, it's just constant relationship building. It's constant collaboration. We have certain faculty, and I think this is true of any university. We have certain faculty who are like, hey, I want to do a podcast. How can I do a podcast, right? How can I help you recruit? Can I write letters to all of our students? Can you send me all of the students that have applied to my program? Great. And then you have faculty who are like, nope, not my job. So this is your job. It's all good. It's that constant, culture of creating those relationships, of developing them out. And we have some incredible, incredible faculty. And I think one of the hardest things is that they can be super humble. And so a lot of the things that they're doing, many of the things that they're doing in their classroom, we don't know about and we want to know about, but they don't need to shout it from the rooftops, even though we need to shout it from the rooftops. Um, it's it's one of those things where the more we can create a culture of collaboration with our faculty, the more we'll get those stories, the more we can retell those stories, whether it's through marketing or whether it's through, just personal storytelling to the parents or to the students. It's something that we just constantly work on, constantly strive for.
Let's shift to emails because obviously every school is going to continue, right, to send emails probably more than any other communication they do. And I would argue to increase engagement, Lauren, with any campaign or any email you send, you obviously need a trusted sender, meaning if it's not a person's name in the from line, that's going to be a ding for you. And if it's not a subject line that feels personal and doesn't sound like a marketing message, right, that's also going to be a ding for you. What else besides those two things do you feel like your team is now doing really well at St. Kate's that is helping increase engagement when you send those messages out?
First is we need to be there to respond to the emails. So if a student sends a response, we need to be able to set something up as quickly as we possibly can with them. And that's true for all of our students, whether it's our college for women, our college for adults, or our graduate college. Um, so that's one piece of the puzzle. I think I say this all the time, and I'm not the one who's creating the emails and sending them out anymore. But what I try to impress upon my team as much as possible is one bad subject line, and they will. If your subject line does not align with what is in the actual email, then they're not going to open your emails anymore. And it just takes one of them. So to make sure that we are aligning all of our subject lines with the content, I also think too we need to stop. When we're creating these emails, we need to understand who our audience is. And a lot of times that audience is a 15, 16, 17-year-old young woman, because our college for women is all women. Um, and their priorities could be quite different. So, how can we, look at basically creating a campaign with if then scenarios? I know this is getting super technical though, but with if then scenarios, so that if they've already signed up for an event, and we talked about it earlier, we're not asking them to sign up for the same event twice, right? We need to have a way to segment and target based on every single piece of information we need them to see. That's really the most important key, is understanding who our audience is, segmenting and targeting, and making sure that any message that goes out aligns with the subject line. And, you know, we just had this conversation. I think it's really interesting because we just had this conversation um, with one of our vendors. We were sending out these deadline orientated emails every single month. And we were looking at our data, and our data was saying that students were dropping off because they were getting, oh, it's a deadline November 1st, it's a deadline December 1st. Every single month there was a deadline. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Deadline orientated emails and messaging is fantastic. You need that. I get it. But these are faux deadlines, and the students clearly figured that out. You have an early admission deadline, right? Like November 1st and November 15th. You've got application deadline, you've got decision deadline. Everywhere throughout the rest of it should be stuff that they want to know about. It's dorm rooms, it's, it's food plans, it's major courses, it's ROI pieces. The rest of it, it'll come. It will come. So just making sure that you look at the data and kind of saying, okay, we don't need these anymore. They're dropping off. They're not doing us any good. How can we repurpose this to information that we know that they want?
If I'm listening to this, then Lauran, and I'm going, Lauran, this all sounds great, but I don't work at a small private liberal arts college. I work
Mm-hmm.
at like a mid-sized public or a large public, and like, there's
Mm-hmm.
no way I can scale all of this. What's your response to that?
Yes, you can.
Talk,
Absolutely, yes, you
dig into
can.
that.
I
Talk to us
mean,
more about that.
you've got a CRM, you've got the data right in front of you. You know what their majors are going to be. You know where they're coming from. Are they from the Twin Cities? Are they from outstate? Are they from out of state, Minnesota? Right? Are they from Texas? You've got all this data in front of you, and there's a lot of tools out there that you can be using. There's a lot of partners that you can use to help guide this process as well. I have a tiny marketing team. I have 6 people on my marketing team. I outsource basically every single thing that we do because I have to. And so it can be a lot more efficient outsourcing it, quite honestly. We don't know about all the technology that's out there. And so I rely a lot on our partners and even new partners to come forward and say, hey, we can do this hyper personalized content. We can gather all this information, throw it into your CRM, and your CRM will do the work for you. I mean, Slate does a really good job of being able to segment and target our audiences based on anything we want. I mean, truly, what was their first touch attribution? Where are we getting them from? What is their major? Where do they live? I mean, there's so many different things that we can glean from all that. You can create as many communications plans or campaigns as you want, depending on your audiences. And I think that the biggest tool right now, or the biggest upgrade we're starting to push out, is that hyper personalized content. And so, again, we work alongside our vendors to be able to do that. So I'm not putting the pressure on my team to accomplish that internally. I will say that. I think that we had a change in leadership in our admissions director position, and India Clipful came in, and she has just been amazing at gelling the team. I think the most important thing is everybody, you need to have a goal, an aligned goal, and everybody needs to buy into that goal. And so we've got, objectives and key results in a lovely little Excel spreadsheet chart that we look at. Okay, well, what are our goals and how are we going to get there as a team? But what I really wanted them to focus on is, okay, if we're going to raise our yield percentage in this particular category of the funnel, how are we going to do that? Do we need new tools? Do we need new technology? Do you need my help in some way of doing it? But I think, our team is just, and we've got new people on the team since I've been there, but our team has just been so dialed in. I don't know how else to say it. And that has nothing to do with me. That has everything to do with India and what she's doing with the team, quite honestly. But they're so dialed in, and I've got such a wonderful, deep team. And that is with the College for Women. That's with our College for Adults. That's with our graduate programs, our graduate college, our financial aid, our marketing team. Like, everything is so well aligned. And you can't do one without the other.
What surprised you most in terms of making all these different changes over the last few years when it comes to personalization? Biggest thing that surprised you?
I just think the morale of our team has just skyrocketed. It's a competitive world out there. Higher ed is not for the faint of heart. And so, for our team to be able to focus truly on what they love to do, they know the numbers are going to come because of it. They know that if they dive deep into, relationship building and having honest conversations with our students, the personalization, the tools that we've put in place, that's really there to help aid them get to where they want to be and to do what they love. So I think the morale has really increased, which has been a really beautiful side effect.
The last thing I do on every episode, Lauren, is something I call fun rapid fire. So I'm just going to give you a handful of things and I want to get some quick feedback answers on each one, okay?
Okay.
You can only drink one for the rest of your life, red or white wine.
Red.
Rumor has it you're a big college football fan. If you had the opportunities to go to both venues, but you can only choose one, are you going to the Big House at Michigan or Memorial Stadium at Texas?
Oh God, that's horrible. I have to go. Oh, I have to go to the Big House. I have to.
I've also heard you enjoy candle making. So what's your favorite candle scent?
Anything with like amber or like a woodsy scent.
Better Minnesota, I'll call them delicacies. Caribou coffee or Bruegger's bagels?
It's got to be Bruegger's bagels.
I absolutely 100% agree. Last one, person you'd love to have dinner with this week if you could. They can be dead or alive. Who would it be?
Oh my gosh. Nick Saban.
I think that would be a very fun conversation about a whole bunch of things ranging from leadership to college football.
I think so too.
Lauren, I appreciate you being on. And just like that, we've reached the end of another season of the podcast. So before I wrap up, I want to say thank you. Seriously, thank you so much to everyone listening and spending some time with me every couple of weeks, every other Tuesday, and being part of this community. We'll be taking a short break during the month of July, and I'll be back with a new season and new episodes every other Tuesday starting August 11th. Enjoy the rest of your summer. Thanks for listening to Mission Admissions. This show is a proud member of the Enrollify network, home to Higher Ed's largest collection of podcasts. Enrollify is where higher ed goes to grow, so be sure to check out our other podcasts, webinars, video clips, blogs, and more. Visit enrollify.org and subscribe for all the latest details and content drops directly to your inbox. Enrollify is brought to you by Element 451, the digital workforce platform for higher ed. Learn more at element451.com.